Hey guys, and welcome back to the next video in my Gaming Spotlight series. Today I'm going to be talking about Doom, but before I get into the review itself, I wanted to kind of lay out where things are with the channel. I'm going to do a whole video sometime soon, sort of talking about where I had been the last couple years, what I was doing in the interim, what I see for this channel going forward, and what you should kind of be able to expect. But just to sort of quickly breeze through that here, I want to sort of establish a structure and a rhythm that most of my review videos will have going forward. I've got some of those things in place for this review, the order in which I want to lay things out, some of the inserts and inner titles. But there's a couple other things I wanted to have ready for this video that I just haven't. The audio in particular is one thing that I'm still working on, and also some more little refinements here and there I'll be kind of implementing as time goes on. So this video isn't 100% in the new system as I'll have it, but it's getting part of the way there and should give you kind of a sense of where things should be going forward. So having said all that, I'd like to talk about the game I'm going to be spotlighting today, which is Doom, which I played recently on the PS4. I actually played it just previous to playing Persona 5. Now, it's important to preface this by saying I have no particularly strong memories or nostalgia attached to the original Doom. I was well aware of the game. I played the game. I was quite young when it came out, but I never beat it. It's not sort of a seminal game for me. It's not a game that I have very vivid memories of or a ton of knowledge of. It's an iconic game now, so I know what the gist was. I know its place in sort of gaming history, and I know kind of what to expect from it, but I wasn't going into playing this PS4 Doom thinking, oh, I hope the story is specifically this. I hope they keep this or that in the game. Those weren't really part of the scope of what I was looking for, so I chose to play this as a palate cleanser from some of the longer JRPGs and other games that I had played. I thought, this game had gotten pretty good reviews when it came out. I'm not really a big first-person shooter guy, but, I can enjoy them if they're well made. And I just thought, maybe this will be the perfect palate cleanser. It should be fun, super action-heavy, super, just the absolute opposite of some of these longer-winded JRPGs. That would be the perfect thing for me to play sort of in between. So I picked it up fairly cheap and went in with relatively limited expectations, and I came away very, very, very happy that I played it. I'm going to lay this review and spotlight out the same way I plan to lay all my videos going out forward that are spotlighting games, which is to break it into 4 parts, and the first part here is the story. Now, like I said, the original Doom, I knew it took place on Mars. I knew you played as a character dubbed the Doom Marine. I knew it involved battling demons. Beyond that, I didn't know a whole lot about the specifics of the story, so I didn't go into this, particularly concerned if they kept every detail the same as the old game or, kind of how they chose to structure it. But I came away from, the story here and the setup here pretty happy and pretty interested in what was going on. Just to give you a basic breakdown, as I understand it, because there's a couple things about the story that I wasn't entirely familiar with, but the basic gist here is that in the future, humanity has colonized Mars. They're using Mars and things they found on Mars as a very valuable natural resource and energy source for humanity. The chief amongst these is Argent Energy, which I wasn't entirely certain in the game if Argent Energy came straight from Hell or in mining Argent Energy, it had led them through a portal to Hell. Either way, this Argent Energy ties into Hell. And as we sort of obtain it and learn to control it and harness it and harvest it, we kind of anger and tap into hell itself, where the demons there aren't too happy that we're taking their resources. So they strike back. They come through a portal up to Mars, devastate the base there, and you kind of pick up right after this attack has happened or soon thereafter as a character that in the game is referred to as the Doomslayer, who, as I understand it and as the game lays out, is sort of an ancient being who has battled in hell throughout time or in different iterations of time. There's lots of backstory presented in the game in sort of vague terms about this character called the Doomslayer, who's been fighting demons mercilessly for, eons and eons. Humanity discovers the Doomslayer locked up in a sarcophagus in hell, brings him back, and sort of keeps him as a contingency plan in case hell ever strikes back against them, which of course happens, and you're left to sort of mop up the mess. So the story here, as this character Dr. Samuel Hayden sort of leads you through Mars and eventually into Hell to deal with the demon threat, I thought worked great. This isn't a game I think anyone plays because they want the most complex, the most original, or most, unwieldy, deep narrative you could possibly find. But I wasn't playing this game for that, and what was there did keep me interested enough to keep playing. The main character is a silent protagonist, but you get a good sense just through his gestures, through his sound effects, and the way he reacts to other characters in the game, enough about his personality to sort of find him interesting. They communicate a lot non-verbally with him. Everything from the way he sort of, upon waking up, smashes this interface when Dr. Samuel Hayden's talking to him, to destroying these sort of, I can't remember what they're actually called, but he basically tries to stop any future Argent energy production entirely in its tracks and destroy it as a source of energy for all time for mankind, despite this character, Dr. Samuel Hayden, trying to tell you not to. He just kind of says screw it and starts smashing these sort of energy pod things, and it just shows his devil-may-care attitude, pun intended. And it just makes him a fairly memorable character even without, any dialogue cues. Dr. Samuel Hayden as sort of an anti-villain here. I don't know how you'd want to describe him, but he's sort of the head of the entire Mars operation. He's the one who's trying to lead you through sort of retaking the base and shutting down the demon threat. But then at the end of the game, you sort of learn that he does have sort of a Shades of Grey type element to him, where he isn't ostensibly bad, but he cares more about his own personal goals than maybe what's the most morally right, if you want to call it that. The game doesn't feature a whole lot of characters. Those are by far the main two, besides this AI called Vega. But, I was curious enough about what was going to happen throughout to want to keep going. The structure of the story did make me wonder sort of what was around, the next corner, what was waiting in the next mission. It kind of wraps up and plays out as you'd expect, but by and large, there was enough suggested, enough happens, and enough in the way of just atmosphere in the game that it was interesting enough to keep me going. This character, Olivia Pierce, who sort of succumbs to the demons, ends up being sort of a human main antagonist, and I was always interested to see when she'd pop up next. So by and large, you kind of know what you're getting here story-wise. It's about a ancient Doomslayer, Doom Marine guy fighting his way through hordes of demons to try to stop their assault on Mars. I imagine it's pretty similar to the original game. The graphics and visuals, fantastic looking game. Really just beautiful graphics, incredibly detailed. The Mars base is suitably creepy, suitably futuristic. The lighting works really well to keep you on edge. The vistas of the surface of Mars are great. The base itself and the way it's laid out is really well done. When you go to Hell, a lot of the ornamentation and decoration in Hell, some of the bone sculptures, everything just looks fantastic. The enemies are very detailed, very creepy. The guns look great. Your armor looks great. The animations look great. It's a very sleek looking game with an awesome sense of atmosphere. Just does the game great justice, because, in a game where this much is happening and you're really just unleashing havoc on these enemies, you want it to look great too, because, it plays great and feels great. The visuals need to stand the test that everything else passes, and they do. It's a fantastic looking game. Not really a whole lot to say here in terms of disappointment. I think the strong suit of the game was, communicating this sense of devastation that the base felt through the, just through the graphics. Some of the destroyed infrastructure, a lot of the violence and gore you get is just really intense and really well done. So the graphics and visuals here really worked well. It's a beautiful game, and I highly recommend it on that regard. The music and sound, fantastic soundtrack, my goodness. Mick Gordon, who is a composer and musician who I wasn't aware of before this, did the score here. And I am, not exaggerating when I say that this is one of the game scores that I could see myself listening to the most outside of playing the game, of any game I've ever played. I've listened to it a ton. The soundtrack absolutely kicks ass. It's one of the most heavy, intense, hardcore metal soundtracks I've heard. Some of my favorite tracks include At Doom's End, which I believe is a reimagining of a track from the original game. This song called Flesh and Metal. This song called Rip and Tear. There's another song called BFG Division. So heavy, so intense, so perfect for a game like this. You know, I was literally headbanging and tapping my foot while playing the game because the music got me so amped up. The music sets the tone for the action perfectly. You know, there's some orchestral and sort of atmospheric ambient stuff during some of the quieter moments of the game, but when the combat comes in, it is just distorted guitars blaring, double bass, heavy. You know, you're going to want to turn your TV up when you're playing this. Just fits the game so well. Awesome soundtrack. The sound effects are great too. The guns sound fantastic. The glory kills you get when you're up close to the enemy doing really gory, finishing moves is suitably, insane sound-wise. It really is squishy and gross and bloody and just, it communicates what it should be. The enemies sound good. They all have really pretty distinctive, noises and cries and screams to them. The voice acting, especially of the character Dr. Samuel Hayden, I thought was great. He's this sort of, I guess, robot with a human's brainstem in him, so he has a very, deep, hearty, robotic voice, but it communicates a lot. It communicates a lot about his character and just sounds great. I could listen to him talking, all day long. And there was a bunch of voiceovers that you could find in the game through these sort of stones you touched, which are almost served as, like, old history books, and the suitably creepy demon voice that talks to you there is a little cheesy, but it still worked just fine for the game. And, overall, music fantastic. I would recommend this to anyone who likes metal and hard rock, and even some, like, electronic, more techno type stuff. Anyone who's not even a gaming fan to check out the soundtrack because it's that good, but particularly as a gaming soundtrack, absolutely awesome, and the sound holds up as well. And the last element I want to talk about here is the gameplay. The game played great. The game played fast. The game played smooth. The game was incredibly responsive. It felt like I wanted Doom to feel when I decided to pick up this game. The combat, you have to be moving, shooting, jumping, and just reevaluating constantly. It's very frenetic. And for a game to play that fast, you need the visuals and everything on screen to keep up with you. This isn't a herky-jerky game. It plays very smooth. The guns, feel very different and provide enough variety for it, kind of feel different based on your personal preference and style of play. Things like using the chainsaw and, melee combat felt very rewarding. And the thing that I think surprised me most about this game that I really enjoyed was the replayability and the depth. This isn't a 100-hour game. I'm sure if you enjoyed it enough that you want to replay each level, 20 times and do arcade mode and all that stuff and multiplayer, which I never did multiplayer for the record, but if you want to do all that, I could really see you getting a lot of time out of this game, but I just really wanted to play through the story and see what the story had to offer. But enough is hidden in each level between hidden areas where you can find sort of Easter egg type stuff, and then also gun upgrades, armor upgrades. You've got challenges to perform with each gun to further upgrade them. You've got these sort of hidden areas in each level, or at least in most of the levels, where once you find them, they send you to like a secret submission where you have to do a challenge, which then unlocks a rune, which you can apply to your character, and it gives you, different power-ups. There's enough here that I kind of thought I'd run through relatively short levels, kill some demons, move on to the next level. But between all the secret areas, the different gun types, trying to max out the weapon upgrades, do all the challenges, find all the armor upgrades, there's quite a lot to replay here, and I went back and played a number of levels over and over to get everything. The game really offered enough depth and enough substance that I wanted to try everything out. I wanted to try to find all the upgrades. I wanted to try to, there's a combat meter. The more enemies you kill in each level, the combat meter fills up, and then the points you get from that you can apply to your armor. So I was going back through levels, trying to get enough kills to max my, combat meter out. There's a lot here to chew on. It's more than just a really quick action game without much substance. There is some substance. It plays smooth. It plays sleek. It plays fast. It plays gory as hell. I mean, some of these things called glory kills, which are basically melee finishing moves, of which there are a variety, are just, Mortal Kombat fatality gross. I mean, you're talking about pulling people's jaws off, ripping people's limbs off, sticking your hand down people's throats. Some of the bosses you fight towards the end of the game have some insane glory kills. I'm thinking about cyber demon and the sort of guardians you fight after that are like these weird leech things in armored suits. You know, gameplay is great. If you want a gory, fast-playing, very smooth first-person shooter, how could you not love this game? It's that to a T, cranked up to an 11. So if you can't already tell, I loved Doom. I think Doom is a fantastic piece of genre gaming. And what I mean by that is it knows exactly what it is. It knows exactly what it's supposed to be. It does that flawlessly and, you know, pushes all those elements over the top. People are playing Doom, I imagine, because they want a gory, action-packed, insane, fun, bloody action game. And it offers all that in spades. You know, to go along with that, a fantastic soundtrack, beautiful graphics, an interesting enough story that it keeps you playing. And, you know, what more could I say about this game? It isn't probably the type of game where, like I said, I'm not a big shooter guy, so this is sort of an outlier for me, but I still thought it was fantastic and would recommend it to anyone who likes shooters or just really well-done genre games in general. So I'm going to give this a 9.2 out of 10. Really great game. I highly, highly recommend Doom. I'm going to be listening to the soundtrack, headbanging, and, you know, freaking out for probably years to come. So cheers, Mick Gordon, for that. Guys, this has been another Gaming Spotlight. I plan to make a video again soon, kind of updating the future of my channel and talking a little bit about where I had been recently. But I hope you enjoyed this review. Hope you enjoyed my Persona 5 review. And I look forward to talking to you guys soon. Take care.